Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I am pleased to be with you today. We are located at Union Station, Washington Union Station, that is, and we are here today to talk about infrastructure. We know that we are here especially to talk about big investments in infrastructure. The potential that this site holds, of course, is enormous. Union Station is the first place that many people experience Washington, D.C., and we want that to be an exceptional experience, one that reflects not only our city and what it is capable of, but our nation and what it is capable of. We also know that the redevelopment of Union Station is critical to our transportation growth, and not just our growth, but the entire regions, and indeed the entire East Coast. So last July, some folks assembled here, and I went on a trip to New York City to visit the new Moynihan Train Hall to envision what a transformation of Union Station could also be. We are already making the necessary local investments in renovating the H Street Bridge so that expansion can move forward. The city has been on that trajectory for a number of years. And we are also committed to working with our partners at Amtrak, the United States Department of Transportation, the Federal Railroad Administration, and the Union Station Redevelopment Corporation. And I want to thank them for hosting us today. Thank you, Beverly Swaim Staley and team. We're working with all our partners to see this transformation through. And part of what we want to replicate is the pilot we started at the new Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge. You'll remember that in September, we opened the new Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, and some of you may have seen that earlier this week we lit it up, and it's pink in celebration of the Cherry Blossom Festival in D.C. I mentioned the bridge because while it is beautiful and it makes all Washingtonians proud, it also highlights an initiative that D.C. and the federal government could pilot, and that is how we use these dollars to put people to work, especially D.C. residents. So local hiring is highlighted here. And we can accomplish so much more with President Biden's $1.2 billion investment, finally, in infrastructure. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform our infrastructure, to get people back to work, and to get people better connected across our city. We can better connect our roads, bridges, sidewalks, our structurally deficient bridges, and get them into a state of good repair. We can make transit improvements to buses and to the DC circulator. We can make our energy grid more resilient to storms and flooding. We can make sure every resident in every part of our city is connected to broadband. We can clean and restore our rivers, and we can eliminate all remaining lead pipes in D.C. And I'm just talking about the formula funding. We know we can do a lot more when we compete and win more grants from the federal government. There will be another $180 billion in competitive grants that we will go after. And you know, we like to win. Grants we can use to connect neighborhoods by addressing the legacy building of highways through predominantly Black communities. Imagine, for example, what we will be able to do to connect residents along the 295 corridor. We talk a lot about fixing legacy redlining, and for good reason. They have had long-lasting and detrimental effects on our neighborhoods and the people who live there. So we need a good team to make sure that we can source ideas and go after these opportunities. We need a good team to keep us focused on projects that are both transformational and equitable. And that's where this task force come in. So today we are launching the DC Build Back Better Infrastructure Task Force. These men and women will make sure Washington, D.C. comes out a winner in our bids to get infrastructure projects funded. They are also the team charged with working with the community to get input on what we want to fund and how we want to fund it. The task force will be made up of experts from district agencies and external partners chosen for their background in each of one of 5 subcommittees. They include transportation innovation, technology innovation, workforce capacity building, environment and resilience, and administration, compliance, and procurement. There will be an executive committee that will oversee the entire process and work with the Biden administration to make sure we know about future funding releases and deadlines. Some of you will remember the committee I established to reopen DC, its process, how it worked, its short timeline, its big ideas that were generated, and its inclusiveness. And so this is what I envision for the DC Build Back Better Infrastructure Task Force. I am so excited also to announce the leadership for this committee. You will recognize a transportation leader in Great American who has agreed to co-chair this committee. He couldn't be with us today, but former Transportation Secretary Rodney Slater will be our co-chair, which is great news for us, as well as a DC business owner who has been involved in infrastructure and putting people to work. Co-chair Jan Adams, President and CEO of JMA Solutions. Thank you, Jan. So I'm so excited about what we will share today. There will, of course, be additional opportunities for residents to learn what we're doing, to get involved, to volunteer, to participate with the DC Build Back Better Infrastructure Task Force. Please go to infrastructure.dc.gov or please email us there for more information. You're also going to have a chance to ask lots of questions, but I want to introduce you. I have appointed one of my able team to be the staff director for the task force. They will have a lot of work in a short deadline to deliver ideas to us. And then I am going to ask Director Lott to come up to talk about some of the transportation investments that we're already making using local funds, that we're already making because of the formula grant money we anticipate, and talk about how we're going to get all of those things done. So my pleasure now is to introduce Jenny Reed, who will be the staff director to the task force.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mayor, so much for this opportunity. My name is Jenny Reed. I am the Mayor's Director of the Office of Budget and Performance Management, and now Staff Director of the new Build Back Better Infrastructure Task Force. I am really pleased to be working with this excellent group of people standing behind me who are experts inside and outside government on all of the key areas that the Mayor discussed with you. And we have a lot of work ahead of us. We are getting at least $3 billion just in formula funding alone over the next 5 years. To put that in context, our local CIP that the Mayor just delivered to the Council the other week is $9.9 billion over 5 years. So we are growing our capacity by 30% to be able to deliver more on the transformational projects that the Mayor mentioned. Our task force will focus on 3 key areas. First, making recommendations on how to maximize our funding to ensure our competitiveness and resiliency in the region. Making recommendations on how to prioritize the federal funding and our local funding and make sure they work together to maximize opportunities for residents. And certainly one of those areas will be making sure that we go after all of the competitive funding opportunities that we think the district residents deserve. And of course, it wouldn't be a Mayor Bowser budget initiative if there wasn't public input. So as you heard from the mayor, please go to infrastructure.dc.gov. We will also be updating that website with our list of meetings, how the public can come participate, and further options for you to deliver our ideas. For Secretary Slater and Ms. Adams, I'm excited to have you lead our task force and look forward to working with you. And with that, let me turn it over to Director Lott, who's going to talk about some of the investments in Mayor Bowser's fiscal year 23 budget. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Bowser. With your leadership, the District Transportation Network is emerging as a model for cities across this nation. I'd like to take the opportunity to underscore the necessity of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the resources it will bring to Washington, D.C. Historically, federal funding has fallen behind our capital investment needs. But today, this historic investment in infrastructure will allow DDOT to maintain our most prized and important assets and bring them to a state of good repair, safety, and also sustainability. Under Mayor Bowser's leadership, we have updated our Move DC plan, which is our 25-year strategic plan, which leads our mission to update deliver equitable service, sustainable and reliable multimodal transportation network for all residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. With this mission leading the way, we've set our vision on safety, be it small area paving projects, our automated traffic enforcement, our major capital construction projects. We are committed to improving safety for all roadway users. So in order to overcome existing disparities and achieve transportation safety and equity, we understand the focused attention must also be given to historically under-resourced communities. So more importantly, we understand that this commitment will not be measured in words, but in deeds. So thanks to Mayor Bowser's FY23 proposed budget, DDOT can progress and move forward on many critical infrastructure projects that will make moving through this city without a car safer and more convenient. Through this budget, we will invest $9.4 million to add 91 full-time school traffic safety positions to ensure coverage for all schools. Through this budget, we will also have $10 million a year for quick build traffic calming measures and to begin replacing the temporary measures with permanent ones. $200 million over 6 years for long-term streetscape projects to redesign our most dangerous corridors, our most dangerous intersections, and our most dangerous roads. $36 million over 6 years to add 10 new miles per year of protected bike lanes to the district's growing bicycle network. Also, $57 million to complete the K Street Transitway, providing protected bus and bike lanes through downtown on our east-west corridor, one of our busiest in the district. Also, $9.4 million to add 170 new speed cameras to enforce traffic laws that are critical to the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists. In addition to the safety, the Mayor's Fair Shot budget of 23 also allows us to prioritize transformative projects that will allow our residents to move safer and faster throughout the city. So through this budget, we will also invest $102 million over 6 years to continue a multi-year plan to make bus transit faster and more reliable. $15 million over 6 years to continue expanding the Capital Bike Share so that every resident has a station within a quarter mile of their home. $125 million over 6 years for new and rehabilitated trails to improve our connectivity to the regional trail network. $21 million to build a new pedestrian and bicycle bridge that connects Berry Farms to the Anacostia Metro. And lastly, but certainly not least, $18.5 million for a new pedestrian bridge to Kingman Island. So Mayor Bowser, I speak for our residents and I speak for our visitors when I say thank you. Thank you for investing in our transportation network, our transportation infrastructure, and thank you to the DC Build Back Better Infrastructure Task Force for the guidance that will create many of these valuable ideas. So in this pivotal moment, the task force will be stewards in the history of transportation across the district. With our Move DC plan leading the way and the bipartisan infrastructure law helping us to leverage these local resources, we are filled with opportunities that require an even closer partnership than we've ever had before. So we look forward to working with the task force and other city representatives, the community, as we build DC back better. Thank you.
I want to thank Director Reed and Director Lott, the task force members who have been able to join us, DC residents in advance for your ideas and participation in the work that we'll do ahead. So with that, I'll turn to on-topic questions, then questions, community questions. Questions? Press questions? Okay, let me get the press questions, then we'll come back to the community. Yes?
Yeah, Mayor Bowser, could you talk a little bit about what your priorities might be for this $3 billion? We're here at Union Station. You mentioned Union Station. You know, I'm sure a lot of commuters particularly are thinking about Roosevelt Bridge and some of the bridges coming into D.C. What would you like to see some of this $3 billion spent on?
Well, Mark, I think that you can see by the way that we are laying out the work of the task force. We obviously have big transformational projects like the one here at Union Station. Many people will know about the transformation to Moynihan Train Hall in New York City. This could be even bigger and better. And no offense to my friends in New York, but it will allow us to have even greater capacity for Amtrak, for more service, better connectivity between VRE and MARC, and our intercity buses. It will also allow for the public-private development to proceed so that we will have more commercial opportunities here at Union Station and, of course, better connection of the station to the neighborhood. So it's a big deal, and it has a big price tag. That's why the infusion of federal dollars is going to be key. The process is underway. There's an environmental assessment ongoing. Amtrak is a key partner, obviously, and they have their own planning processes going, so those are huge. You've already heard some of the priorities that the bipartisan infrastructure bill will allow that are included in this budget. Our ability to, over 6 years, focus $200 million on our high crash intersections and corridors, and by way of streetscape projects, fix them, is hugely important to the work that we will do. You've also heard it was a priority of the President and US DOT that we make up for damaged costs to communities because of highways running through them. I had this own experience in my neighborhood in Riggs Park where there were these off-ramps that were built in case there was going to be a highway coming through as was planned. That highway was stopped, but some of the remnants of it remained. High-speed traffic going down Riggs Road. The community was able to reclaim that space. Now there's going to be great affordable housing there. And that is the type of thinking I'm asking task force members to look at. How can we look at some of our built space, transform it so that it's connecting people to jobs, activities, their families in a way that's safer?
As we talk about sort of the regional element of this, I know this is a DC-centric group that's assembled here, but can you also just talk about dialogue with Maryland and Virginia and how important that is as you sort of isolate and figure out other projects that you might want to have going forward. And then also, quasi on topic, just Metro announcing today a further delay in the 7000 series coming back as we sort of talk about infrastructure, a delay again in the Silver Line. Just your reaction to that as the city tries to come back with the pandemic.
No, absolutely. So regional partnership is important to the work that we do, and we have considered in our task force membership members who have reach across state lines. Transportation is certainly a regional issue, and we will continue to work with our counterparts. I'm not aware that they are establishing a similar public input process, but certainly on a staff level, we will advance that. You're right to point at Metro. I think I left them out in talking about all of the transportation options that come into the station, but Metro is certainly a major one. We are going to work with the authority. We're one of 3 funders that is concerned about its operations, the impact of COVID on its operations and budget, in the Safety Commission's recommendation. So I know that the leadership there will work hand in hand with the Safety Commission to make sure that we have the service and the safe service that we're paying for. Yes, Sam.
Yes, Mayor. This is kind of off topic, actually, but sort of. One of the AP did a piece on, I guess, kind of questionable spending with respect to, I think, COVID dollars. But anyway, one of the things they listed was that D.C. was spending, I think, $2.5 million to hire parking enforcement people. What is your reaction to that?
I don't know exactly. I haven't read that story, but I can tell you this, Sam. We set up a very robust process, and I'm extremely proud of the amount of reimbursement and how fast we've got our reimbursements back from FEMA and the federal government. So I know our processes are set up so we're spending money the way it was intended to be spent. Now, I don't know if they're referring to using some dollars that came in emergency funding that we helped to balance the budget. That is more likely what they mean.
Okay, and also off topic, the chief of police announced yesterday that 9 people had died in Southwest as a result of fentanyl. And obviously it's something that's been going on here in the city for quite a while. But just your reaction to the fact that this is like a mass casualty event. But I guess because it was spread over so much time, people didn't actually realize it. Anything that, any focus, particular focus, because of situations like this?
Well, you point to why it's so important that MPD can have the people and resources that they need for complex investigations. There is somebody responsible for those deaths. There may be some group that's responsible for those deaths. And those are people who are peddling drugs in our community. MPD, and I've been pretty impressed when they are able to focus their intelligence with ATF and others, can find out the people who are responsible for that. But that requires trained MPD professionals. Now, we're not here to talk about public safety issues in particular today, but also included in my budget is a way that we can make sure that the ranks of MPD are not depleted further and that we can hire almost 350 more officers with a focus on women and DC residents. More than that, Sam. We're talking about coming back, and we know a particular group of people who have been terribly affected by COVID are people that have substance abuse disorders. We need them to get connected back to their services, and we need to make sure that DC residents know that they can go to any pharmacy and get Narcan, and for someone who is experiencing an overdose, it can save their lives. So we're going to focus on making sure MPD has what it needs, focus on making sure our residents are getting back connected to substance abuse treatment, and giving the community an additional tool with Narcan that can save someone's lives if they're experiencing an overdose. Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
What is the city's plan for cybersecurity to make sure, because it's part of infrastructure plan, and also we bring higher paying jobs and well-skilled people to DC for some of the positions?
Sure. We do see cyber security and preparing DC residents as one of our high growth and high demand job areas. Working with employers, working with UDC and all of our local universities, we will help support DC residents who are interested in those fields. We also take very seriously that we can always be a target for cyber threats, especially now. We take heed to the warnings that have been given to municipalities across the country now, especially, and we're working to make sure we're hardening our systems, reminding people of how to protect their own information as we move forward. Yes.
Good afternoon, Antoine Thompson, Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition. A lot of big numbers. I just wanted to ask, from Union Station all the way to Ward 8, what's the plan to increase access to public charging? Because right now in the district there are charging deserts, and I didn't really hear anything about access to public charging.
And that is part of what the bipartisan infrastructure bill will allow us to focus on and do more. So we look forward to developing that plan, getting it funded, and getting it in place in the district. Yes, last question. Yes, sir.
Hi, Thomas Perry with HDR. What are some of the challenges that you anticipate occurring in trying to deliver the value that you're looking for in such a historic bill?
Well, that's a great question. One of the big challenges, and I'm going to task our administration, compliance, and procurement committee with coming up with ideas. And that is to streamline the procurement process. That's one of the biggest things. You like that? It's not the sexiest. Everybody that works for DC government is like, yes, Mayor, yes. But here's the deal. We know, and we have had a very recent experience with getting COVID dollars out the door, that we can do it in a streamlined, transparent process, meet all of our CVE spending goals, and deliver services that save people's lives. We've done it, and we have kept, followed with fidelity a process with the DC Council to ensure that they are engaged in the process as well. We see a lot of analogies with spending infrastructure dollars. We need to get this time we're not talking about life-saving COVID vaccine or test, but we are talking about getting people employed in projects that make our streets safer. I can't tell you how often people tell me how urgent that is. We have to speed up this improvement to high crash intersections. We have to make Vision Zero a reality. We have to make sure that we're making up in making sure our investments are equitable. So if we feel as urgently about those things as we say, then we also have to make sure that our administration solicitation and delivery of these dollars matches that urgency. We have suggested a couple of fixes to the council this year that would help us get more DDOT dollars out the door more quickly. And so I'm asking the council to look upon those favorably, but also we will engage them if the task force comes up with some other ideas with those potential changes as well. Thank you much, everybody. Thank you.